Hello everyone. I am going to be sharing a process video tutorial with you today. I am in, participating in a 90s theme swap, and we're making a binder either using the KS Craft binder die that came out recently or following a tutorial, which I will link in the description box. One of the requirements is a pencil pouch, and of course there wasn't really anything that said you had to make the pencil pouch. You could probably have bought one as well. The binder that I made is more of that 8.5 by 5.5 kind of size. So I looked online for some tutorials, didn't really find anything that suited me. I wanted to make it out of paper versus fabric. Obviously, there's lots of fabric options out there. So I kind of came up with my own. Looking at pencil pouches, instead of having it open right on the very end of the pencil pouch, I have mine on the front. So what you have here is just basically a pocket with a zipper and an acetate window. And of course the zipper works and you can load it up. So I'm just adding in a few things for my swap. Maybe. You can see even this tiny pouch, this is about 7.5 by 7.5 by 5, I think is the measurement on this one. But you can see I got quite a bit in here, a couple pieces of candy, a hair tie, some body glitter, some pens. So it all fits in there quite nicely. So I'm going to show you how to make it. So first thing that we're going to need is you're going to need your piece of paper. I like to use a double-sided paper. Just because then when you see in the acetate window, you've got some pattern to look at it as well. Not necessary. I am going to do this one just a little bit bigger. So I have 8.5 by 10. So this is your height of your pocket. And then you need it to be a little bit bigger than you want as far as what you want wide. I'm going to probably make this about a 6 by 8.5 is what I'm going for. So I have an extra inch or inch and a half that I'm going to be scoring to fold it over to get the top and the bottom. And so whatever your dimensions are, you're going to add at least 2 inches to the width of your pocket, maybe up to 3 inches. Then you're going to need 2 strips. I just did the full 12 inches. I won't need that, but I did 1 inch wide strips. You're gonna need those. You're gonna need a piece of acetate, and it's gonna have to be at least as wide as what your pocket's going to be. I have it a little longer here. I haven't trimmed it to size. I'll do that when I am making it. And then you'll need a zipper. I have a really long zipper here, not by design. I just kind of keep longer zippers on hand. This happens to be a hidden zipper, which if you don't know, you don't see the little teeth on the front. Not necessary. I just accidentally bought a large quantity of these, so I'm going to use them on this project. So that's what you need. I'm going to go ahead and I'll make my score marks so that you can see what that looks like, and we'll be right back. All right, so I'm going to score my 1 inch pieces at a 1/2 inch all the way down. So we'll get those scored. And then on your longest side of your paper, which is going to be your width, you're going to score, I scored at 1 inch. This is my top. And then I decided I wanted it to be about 7 inches total. So I'm going to score at 2, which is 7 inches from my 9. That leaves me 2 inches for the bottom. I don't know if I'm going to leave 2 inches on the bottom yet or not. when we score and burnish these, we can kind of take a look at what that might look like. And then I just want to make sure that my acetate is going to be big enough, which it will be. So what I'm looking for here is, obviously it's going to be just short of that top line here on this side. And then you want it to be within the fold for sure, but somewhere in between here, we're going to have to glue or tape this side. So we just want to make sure that it's going to be wide enough to accommodate what we're going to do here. So I'm thinking that this pocket is pretty good. I have a decent amount of space here for my window. I might trim probably about a 1/2 inch off on this side, this very edge, just to shorten that up a little bit, give me more clear view on my pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then what I'm going to do, this first step here is going to be to sew your zipper onto the top. And so what I'm going to do here, I have a nice long zipper, so I'm just going to open it all the way up. And I don't like it to go right to the very end. I like to start kind of somewhere inside. And then you're going to lay your paper there. I don't know if it's a little bit controversial. I'm going to use just some tape, or you could use glue to kind of get my piece to stay together. I know the glue or the tape can kind of gum up my machine a bit, but it's just a short little seam here that we're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this lined up here. And then the glue or the tape is just going to kind of help it stay tacked down. And I just want to be, there we go. Just trying to get it so it's kind of even across there. There, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to sew this side. Then we're going to come back and we're going to add the acetate, and we're going to get that sewn on. And so let me do just the first one here so you can see what that one looks like, and then I will help you, or we'll show you kind of how I'm going to do the acetate. Okay, so I have my zipper attached now. So just a straight line all the way across. And then what we have to do, I'm going to go ahead and just zip my zipper up temporarily here. What we have to do now is kind of figure out where our acetate is going to get sewn. I don't tape or glue my acetate. Just because I don't want that to show through on my project. I did trim my acetate, so it is just a tiny bit bigger than my actual project. And what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to kind of get it lined up here, and I'm going to make a mark kind of where I need that acetate to start and stop. You can see I'm past my project here on the edges. But when I get to the sewing machine, I just want to be able to kind of line that up and guide it through so that we get that acetate sewn on the lower half. Now, because I left my zipper nice and long, I can leave it closed for this portion. If you needed to, you can open your zipper up And so making sure you still have the right side, which the marks help you to know that you're on the right side of the zipper that you're going to sew. And you could sew it, you know, so you're here. And again, so once it's opened up, it's a little harder to keep track, but your marks tell you exactly where you should be. So you can sew it like this as well. Again, because my zipper is nice and big, it gives me a little more flexibility. If you don't have that, you can just sew it like you'd sew a regular zipper, going along and moving the zipper pull as needed. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we're almost finished. All right, so my acetate is sewn on now as well. I will tell you, maybe practice with the acetate. It's a little bit trickier. You almost are kind of pulling it through the machine a little bit. It doesn't, your little feet don't want to grab as easy as it does with paper or fabric. But we can zip up our zipper, and you can see now where we've got that zipper attached. Now my pull is off of my project right now, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So here's where we got to make sure that it closes the right way here. I'm all the way down. You don't have to be all the way down. You can be anywhere within this. I did want to trim a 1/2 inch, so I'm going to go ahead and get that trimmed, and then we'll get this glued down. All right, so all that we're going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to tape or glue that down. So make sure everything is, you know, nice and flat. You're going to fold over. Oh, and I have a little bit. Now when I pull everything tight, I'm over on my line just a little bit. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trim a little bit off my acetate as well. All right, so again, just flattening everything out, making sure it's exactly the way you want it. You're just gonna fold over the piece that you added the flap that you added the adhesive to. And we're getting there. It's starting to look like a pouch. Now, you can see I have some extra here. Obviously, we still have to address the zippers. So what we're gonna do here is you've got to have an old scissors, one that you don't use for sewing or even your paper projects. Have an old scissors that you can use, utility scissors, something like that. You want to make sure now that your zipper pull is somewhere in the center of your project, because you don't want to cut that off and have to try and rethread it. So what I'm going to do, zippers are very easy to cut. You just have a good scissors, and I can cut that right off. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Bring that together, and we can cut this off. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go through and cut that little bit of acetate off as well. So now we have all of our edges are trimmed up nice. You don't want to close your zipper because you don't want your zipper pull to go right off the edge. And we're going to bring those 1-inch pieces. And what I'm going to do here, we had scored those down the middle before. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold both of those. And you can use the same paper like I am here. This paper pattern kind of coordinates when I add these, or you could do a contrasting one as well. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put these, and I like having them larger because it's easier just to trim them after. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these to the machine, and I'm going to just sew about in the middle to the edge of each of these and attach those to finish off the sides of my pocket. Okay, so I have both of these sides attached now. I'm just going to take my scissors and trim my threads, trim these edges. Now this can be for a binder, but I was actually thinking this would just be a cool way. This one I'll just use maybe as a way to add some goodies to a different swap. So I'll just kind of have this one on hand. But this is really, we're finished, essentially. The last things, if you are going to use it in a binder, is you would want to measure and punch your holes. However you're doing that, whether it's a 2-ring or a 3-ring, you'd want to have either a template or something that, you know, can line those holes where you want them. The one thing I would say is you can even see here, I have to kind of rearrange my things. My items are going all the way down, so they're interfering with where my binders will be. But what you can do is, oh, and I actually, on this one, I did actually sew across. I didn't do that on this one, but you could if you wanted. You would have to do that before you put the sides on. But what you can do if you're going to use it in a binder and you don't want your things to go all the way into that binder area, is, again, either now or before you put the sides on, you could go maybe halfway on this strip that would close this pocket, give it a definite bottom, and then have a separate little space where you'd have your holes. So that is my paper zipper pocket tutorial. Thank you for watching and sticking with me. This was the first tutorial that I'm attempting, so a little wonky in the beginning here, but hopefully you get the gist, and let me know if you actually make the pocket. I'd love to know how it worked for you.